working off notes, and I know you all know how badly that goes for me, so I'm going to try and do this quickly, but sincerely.
Do you need time cards?
No, I'm good. It is making me nervous. It's been about 2 years now since I started thinking about who my guest of honor would be, and 20 years with speech coaches, I didn't really think about it all that much. And I was given some guidelines from different people, former presidents. They said, you should invite somebody that mentored you, somebody that influenced your career, somebody that had an impact on you and what you do with speech activities. Generally somebody who's retired or out of the spotlight. And the reality is, I look around this room and almost every one of you has influenced me in that way. There are a lot of great people that are no longer around, but the reality is I'm kind of in a weird spot as far as timeline goes and the way my career's gone. A lot of the people that I would say mentored me, either kindly or angrily, have already been honored in one way or another. And I thought to myself, I was thinking to myself, who had the biggest influence on my career? Who had the biggest influence on how I approach coaching and how I approach competition and how I approach the way I do things? And in the 90s and the early 2000s, there were a lot of big rivalries. I don't think the rivalries are what they were in forensics anymore. I think the community's gotten stronger. I think it's gotten better. I think that we understand each other a little better. I think we're more helpful to each other. But those who've been around for a while, there were some pretty big rivalries. And we won't talk about PCPN, for example. Back in the day, that was pretty rough. It's still, there's good competition there, but I think it's friendlier these days. There was DSA and Andover, which was friendly, but it was potent. There was Cassidy versus everybody. That one's over now. And I think that those of you that were around and knew me back in the day, the Class A state championship for I don't know how many years was not in question. It's been in Kalamazoo for a long, long time. Everybody else was fighting for second and third place before we gave out fourth, fifth, and sixth place. And for what I like to refer to, and a number of my students refer to as the 10-year war, was the time when Seaholm and Groves went head-to-head, and we beat the crap out of each other. There was no quarter given. There were no hostages taken. It was, we got to beat Seaholm. They are 1.5 miles from us, and we got to beat these guys. Districts were cutthroat. You lost students that you thought were some of the best. Districts are gone now. Regional, that's true. We won't talk about Oakland County. We won't talk about Oakland County. That's discussed already today. But in sincerity, I wanted the best for my team, and I wanted to, and the only way to get my kids to states was to get through Seaholm. The district tournament was often hosted and held at Seaholm, and it was tough. Those kids were ready. Every year I thought my kids were the best in the world. And every year, there was just Seaholm kids. I don't know what the hell is going on here. In the just under a dozen years that Justin was coaching there, he had a dozen state champions, more than a dozen state champions. He never placed lower than, the Seaholm team never placed lower than fifth in the state while he was the coach there. And that was only 2 years. Every other year he was second, third, or fourth. And I know what years he was each place because I was either second, third, or fourth, either just ahead of him or just behind him. There were 3 years where we were separated by 15 sweepstakes points or less. At that level, that's ridiculous. And one thing I know is that after those tournaments, I spent Sunday hand-tabbing the tournament myself. Sitting there with the schematics, with all the results, and hand-tabbing the tournament. All right, somebody made a damn mistake here. I know Fitz screwed this up. There's got to be 10 points here somewhere that's not right. I want to recount. And I knew, and part of me always knew that 1.5 miles away, there was another guy, a taller, paler, balder, slightly less pretty version of me. And having the same results. Thinking, this is bullshit. I know that we beat them by more than 10 points this year. Or sitting there saying, girls beat us by 7 points this year. Which one of my kids screwed this up? The thing is, the rivalry between our schools, I never felt like it affected the kids. I never felt like it was necessarily a personal thing. It was two really strong teams and two dedicated, passionate coaches who wanted their kids, they wanted the best for their kids. And I always felt, I tried to avoid letting my kids demonize the other side. And I think this is something that's important because it's hard to avoid. And when you have crosstown rivalries, you have schools in the same district, girls and Seaham are natural rivals. They were rivals in all sports. Seaham always dominated in football. Girls was always kick ass at tennis. Water polo. But with forensics, we were head to head, and it went back and forth each year, and I was always proud of that. I will take a moment to say that luckily, illness overtook Justin. The primary illness being fertility. There's that. But the older I got, I think I've mellowed over the years. I think I've gotten a little wiser, a little smarter, despite killing more brain cells every year. And I started to realize over the years that we were more similar than I might have thought. I might have went on, and that's really changed the way I approach this whole activity and the way I see things. When I left Gross High School in 2007, I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to keep coaching, but I no longer had a home there. And I had a lot of friends in the speech community. I still have a lot of friends in the speech community. This is my family. This is my home. And but what surprised me and what really was a revelation to me was the fact that the person who reached out to me and the person who called me on a weekly basis, how are things going? My wife had cancer. We had issues with our son, legal issues with our son. We had all kinds of negative things going on in our lives. And the person who, on a weekly basis, reached out and said, how are things going? What's going on? What are your plans? Where are you going? What are you going to do? You got to keep coaching. You can't quit coaching. It's what you do. It's what you love. You're damn good at this. Why don't you come coach for Seaham? This guy's freaking nuts. I don't know what his game is, but he's crazy. We are rivals. And this is the guy that a couple of my kids were disciplined for calling Nosferatu. They were lightly disciplined. But I said, you know what? The Seaham kids are not that different from the girls' kids, and that's the thing that they're not. It's the reality is, sure, I mean, girls and Seaham kids, you ask them, they'll say, oh, it's night and day, screw those girls kids, screw those Seaham kids, they're totally different. They live in Beverly Hills, we live in Birmingham.
Acre of difference.
And a shout out to Aaron Sorkin, I steal a lot of Aaron Sorkin when I talk about kids, but the things that unite us are so much greater than the things that divide us, and I think that's something that we all should recognize, and something that I've realized in my time, and that although there's a limited pie of success out there in the world, but the reality is every bit of success we bring our kids is huge, and all of you out there are passionate coaches. You want what's best for your kids. You want to be the best advocates for your kids. And over the years, one of the things I learned about Justin was that, damn it, we're way too alike. And in spending 1 year working with him and his students and seeing the program that he ran, I had to begrudgingly say, this guy is just like me. He wants the best for his kids. He wants his kids to go out and shine. He puts every moment of his time into making them not just better speakers, not just better students, but better people. He wants to send them out in the world to make a difference. And just like me, his students are the way, artistically, emotionally, intellectually, it's the way he enters the world. And I don't like this. I don't like admitting how much alike I found us to be, because for 10 years, I wanted nothing but to crush this guy. But not because I didn't like him, but because I thought my kids were more deserving. They worked harder. They were better. They were doing better material. But I was blinded to that. And as things went on, I started to realize that the things, again, that unite us are so much greater than the things that divide us. I think that's true of all of us in this community. I think that the rivalries and the competition out there sometimes cloud our judgment. The fact that some of our kids are crying at the end of the day and some of our kids are cheering at the end of the day blind us to the idea that we're all here for the same reason. And it was a revelation for me, and it was a changing moment in my life when I was able to look at Justin, and we've become friends. Which is still weird for me to say. It's been a long time, but But I thought to myself, and I try and promote community as much as I can. I try to promote the idea that we're all here for the same reason, regardless of what happens in the arguments and the discussions we get in and how we see things differently. We're all here for the same reason. We're here for the kids. And I have become, my career was shaped, and I am a better coach, and my students have benefited from the concept that the coach across the way, my greatest competition, pushed me harder. I wanted my kids to do better because there was another coach out there making their kids do better. And it made all the difference in the world. I'm the coach I am today in large part because of Justin Levine. And I know I'm way over time. But I just want to make sure the sincerity that comes through. I'm a better coach today, and my students are better people today because of the work and the influence of Justin Levine. And that's why he's here today, and that's why he's here in front of you today, and that's why I want him recognized. And that's really about all I have to say.